Good morning. I'm Will Berry, Chairman of the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority. This meeting is being conducted in compliance with the notice and public posting provisions of the Oklahoma Open Meeting Act. This meeting is an in-person meeting open to the public for observation and is also being live streamed and recorded for remote viewing. The time is 10 o'clock and I'm calling the July 7th, 2026 regular meeting of Oklahoma Turnpike Authority to order. Charity, would you please call a roll?
Mr. Will Berry.
Here.
Mr. Todd Cohn.
Here.
Mr. David Madigan.
Here.
Mr. John Tidsworth. Ms. Dana Weber.
Here.
Mr. John Jones.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Before we begin, I want to take a quick moment to personally thank Mr. John Jones for his incredible leadership that he's given OTA over the past 3 years as chairman. John, it's been a privilege to serve alongside you and to see firsthand your dedication, your integrity, the steady leadership you brought to this organization. You've led with professionalism, humility, and a genuine commitment to doing what's best for the OTA and its members. You've also been a role model for those of us who are to follow. Stepping into your shoes will be no small task, as you've reminded me. You have truly set the bar high and will be a hard act to follow. Thank you again for your leadership. It's deeply appreciated. We have a special guest in the house today, Mr. Bobby Stem with the AOGC. Welcome. We all received the meeting minutes from our last... Oh, no, wait. Hang on a sec. Jumping forward. Rookie mistake. Before we get going... we do have a couple of recognitions, and then we also have kind of a moment of silence that Director Joey Kelly will be presenting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. Seems like we're doing this all too often. We did lose 2 members of the transportation family since the last Turnpike Authority Board meeting. One of those very difficult days came after the loss of a worker on the Will Rogers Turnpike on June 19th. It was a non-work related accident, but members of that crew are all close, some friends, and actually some of his family that were all a part of or all affected by the accident that had occurred. So we wanted to recognize Dustin Underwood. He was 26 years old. Had only been with the Turnpike Authority a number of months, and wanted to recognize that and recognize him and his service. Also on June 30th, Department of Transportation maintenance worker Ernesto Vasquez was killed in the line of duty while working along a highway in Jackson County as part of a mowing and weed eating crew. Ernesto was struck by a vehicle. We have so many employees that are out in harm's way every day. These losses are tragic, and they ripple across the communities, through the families, the friends, and of course through both the Turnpike Authority and the Department of Transportation when we have an impact like this. We want to encourage everyone to move over, slow down. The laws that exist are intended to protect our workers and protect you, the traveling public, as you drive through our work zones, whether that be a construction work zone or a maintenance work zone where maybe it's just a maintenance employee who stopped on the shoulder to pull something out of the roadway and who is only going to be there for a few moments. I would like to, with your blessing, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to do a moment of silence and maybe a little bit of a prayer for both the men, their families, friends, and coworkers. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is the recognitions. The first award will be the pavement award, which will be presented by Mr. Trent January.
Good morning, Chairman Berry. I'd
Authority members. With your permission, I would like to invite Brent Burwell, the president with the American Concrete Pavement Association of the Oklahoma chapter, to help present this award.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Director E. Kelly, thank you so much for letting us be here with you today. We're very proud to have an opportunity to honor the men and women who design and construct our paving projects. They do a fine job, and they don't ever get near the amount of recognition they should. It's tough work, and they're very dedicated and do a great job of delivering great projects. And personally, I think Oklahoma has gotten a bad rap over the years for having poor roads. I think we have got some of the best constructed pavements in the country, and these awards show that. And the Turnpike system has greatly contributed to that, so we're very proud to honor this pavement today. So the JKT Turnpike, constructed back in the 90s, I believe, so it's 25, 30 years old. And a lot of times when you need to add capacity to a facility like that, you tear it out and rebuild a newer, bigger, wider project. This job, built out of concrete, has outlived its design life, and instead of tearing it out, we just added two. And so this project was for the widening of that original project, and the judges who looked at that expect that it will last every bit as long as the original one, and far exceed its design life, presenting a great pavement, passing on a great pavement to the next generation. So with that, I'd like to present this award for the JKT 30705A project, which is JKT from I-35 to Eastern. And the resident engineer was Freeze Nichols, design engineer Hudson Prince, and the contractor C3 Construction. Would you guys come on up, and we're going to have a photo. Congratulations.
Thank you. The next line item to be recognized would be the Trooper of the Month, which will be presented by Major Allreed.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Director E. Kelly. I trust y'all had a wonderful 4th of July and everybody has the same number of fingers post-holiday as it had pre-holiday. So today is a little bit different. We are handing out a Trooper of the Year award to a non-turnpike trooper. Troop B, Trooper Sykes, and I'll read the events that led up to this. On May 3rd, 2026, at 23:33 hours, the Northeast Regional Communications Center reported a wrong-way driver heading westbound in the eastbound lanes of the Creek Turnpike. Trooper Sykes heard the call come out over the radio and responded immediately, knowing that he would likely be the closest unit. To ensure the safety of the eastbound motorist, Trooper Sykes initiated a rolling roadblock until he visualized the wrong-way driver's vehicle. He then guided the wrong-way driver towards the inside shoulder and performed a slow pin to bring the vehicle to a stop in a safe location and off the roadway. After stopping the vehicle, Trooper Sykes was more concerned with the driver's safety and condition than with the act itself, and he immediately went into action into getting the suspect driver the medical attention he would need to ensure that he was not having a medical event. If it were not for Trooper Sykes' actions on that day, especially with the Creek Turnpike's unexpected increase in traffic, lives likely would have been lost and at the very least endangered. So we congratulate Trooper Sykes today for his quick thinking and quick action. And if I may interject quite rapidly, we also have in the room with us Captain Mike Yelton. Captain Yelton used to be Lieutenant Yelton for many years on the Turner Turnpike, actually when I was the captain out there, and he made me a successful captain out there, to say the least. So we're happy that he could come in and watch his trooper get this award today.
That's great. Congratulations to our award winners and Trooper of the Month. We all received the meeting minutes from last month's meeting. We've had time to review those, and I would entertain a motion for the approval of these minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Please vote. The approval of the minutes have passed. Our first item of business will be all of the finance items, which will be presented by Mr. David Madigan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our first item is item 1408. In summary, we're asking approval to authorize the director to negotiate and execute a one-year contract with the Department of Public Safety. At this time, I'm going to ask legal counsel Eric Laird to give us a summary of this.
Thank you, Mr. Madigan. Chairman Barry, authority members, Oklahoma law provides that the enforcement of the traffic laws and the general laws on the turnpike system are under the exclusive jurisdiction of the Department of Public Safety. In short, DPS is the exclusive law enforcement agency on the turnpike system, and the cost and expenses associated with DPS providing those services are the responsibility of the Turnpike Authority. Oklahoma law also provides and empowers these two agencies to enter into an agreement that define the terms and conditions upon which these services are provided. And in fact, the OTA and DPS have an existing agreement for this very purpose, although that agreement is more than 20 years old and warrants review and updating where warranted. Further, in the recent report by the state auditor that was issued in March of this year, the state auditor identified the relationship between DPS and OTA as reflected in the current agreement and recommended that that agreement be reviewed and updated if necessary. And we believe, staff believes, that if this item is approved and Director Kelly negotiates and executes a new agreement as contemplated by this item, that recommendation will be satisfied. So the agreement as contemplated by this item provides for a one-year agreement that's set to automatically renew each July 1. Under this agreement, the OTA will pay for the salaries and benefits and all operating expenses associated with providing these services. Namely, that's the OHP troopers and other personnel that are assigned to the Turnpike system to provide these services, as well as the capital expenditures associated with the OHP providing these services, namely the OHP trooper vehicles that are used to patrol the system. And the agreement also provides for a not-to-exceed amount that mirrors and tracks the OTA's budgeting process for all expenditures, operating expenses and capital expenditures that OTA has budgeted for payment to DPS for these services. The most recent calendar year budget, 2026, adopted and approved by this board in November of 2025, allocates approximately $25.6 million for these, payment for these services. So, as Mr. Madigan addressed, this item is to authorize Director Kelly to negotiate and execute a one-year agreement, tracking what I just stated. I'm happy to answer any questions, Mr. Berry, Chairman Berry, pardon me. And staff has reviewed this item and recommends approval.
We have a motion.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Please vote. All votes are in, and item 1408 passed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 1409, we're going to ask Ms. Micah Gardner to update us on the payment register for the month of May 2026.
Good morning, Chairman Berry, members of the authority. Item number 1409 is the payment register prepared by the Comptroller Division. This register contains all payments made by the OTA for the month of May 2026. Staff has reviewed this item and recommends approval.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Weber. Please vote. Votes are in, and item 1409 has been approved. That concludes our finance items. The next item on the agenda are the maintenance, engineering, and construction items, which will be presented by Mr. Vice Chairman Todd Cohn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item is item 1410. Mr. Butler, you've got several of these, so I'll just let you stay up there and.
Several
continue to
items,
talk.
you bet. Yeah, 4 items for engineering division. And again, good morning to each of you this morning. Again, 4 items for us, items 1410 through 1413 here. Our first item is item 1410. This is 2 construction contract awards. I'll make a presentation of both and then ask for a recommendation of approval at the end. First project here is an access bond program project. It's EWC 28801A. This is construction of a new interchange providing connections between I-44 and the Toby Keith Expressway, also known as the East-West Connector, and State Highway 37. This project's located near the city of Newcastle in McLean County. The project includes grading, drainage, bridges, retaining walls, and surfacing. The project begins construction west of I-44 and progresses east to the Canadian River Bridge along the Toby Keith alignment. Project includes a 24th Street TPU bridge and approaches over I-44, including the eastbound exit and westbound entrance ramps to and from 24th Street, the State Highway 37 diverging diamond TPU bridges over I-44, including the westbound and eastbound exit and entrances, ramps to and from State Highway 37. Also includes service roads, mainline turnpike construction, and the Portland Avenue TPO bridges. We had 4 bidders on the project, had a great bid, our low bid with Allen and Shell, which is a joint venture, an amount of $75,353,097.85, and this is about 1.6 below the engineer's estimate. Again, with this project, our goal is to complete and open to traffic the alignment between I-35 and I-44. This is part of that. I believe there are about 13 projects that we're wanting to let for the Express, and this is the 6th one with an award here today. Any questions?
Any questions?
Okay, I'll move on to the second project.
Well, let me approve
Okay,
them
yeah.
one at a time, if you don't mind.
Okay, you bet.
Oh, same item, okay.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
okay. Our second project here is a capital plan project. This is CMC 41, and this is a capital plan project. This is rehabilitation of TPO Bridge 50.83 over an unnamed creek located at milepost 50.83. This is in Pawnee County. The rehabilitation includes removal and replacement of the concrete deck, parapets, concrete beams, bearing assemblies, and repairs to the substructure. The concrete beams are being replaced with weathering steel beams as well. Had 7 bidders on the project. Paradigm Construction was our low bidder in the amount of $2,848,439.60, and this one's about 13.8% below the engineer's estimate. So continuing to see some good bids. I recommend approval on both and happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? If there are none, then, Mr. Chairman, I would recommend approval of item 1410 as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Please vote. Votes are in, and item 1410 has been approved.
Mr. Butler, you have 1411.
Yes, sir. Item 1411, this is an agreement with the Department of Transportation. This is for a capital plan project. Submitted for the consideration of the authorities, a request to authorize the director to enter into a project agreement with the Oklahoma Department of Transportation to allow participation in an interchange modification project located at State Highway 3 and the Indian Nation Turnpike, and this is near Antlers in Pushmataha County. This agreement will outline funding, design, construction, inspection, maintenance, right-of-way, and utility responsibilities for this project. Staff's reviewed this item. We recommend approval.
Any questions? If there are none, Mr. Chairman, I would recommend I'd move for approval of item 1411 as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thank you, Ms. Weber. Please vote. Voting is in, and item 1411 has been approved.
Mr. Butler, 1412.
Yes, sir. 1412, this is a contract modification for a capital plan project. This is project item C66, is the design portion. 66A, item C66A will be the construction portion of the project. This contract modifications provide compensation for additional design services at the interchange of State Highway 3 and Indian Nation Turnpike. These design services include updating plans to accommodate modifications to the existing bridge, extending the ramp improvements to State Highway 3, mainline reconstruction to correct vertical profile, construction support for shop drawings and RFIs, and as-built record drawings. The plan modifications will ultimately be mandatorily tied with ODOT's bridge rehabilitation project at this location. The amount due under this contract modification number 4 shall not exceed $107,096 for these services. The revised contract amounts are not to exceed of $748,410. And this project is part of our previous agenda item there, which is the agreement for this project. So from time to time, we do partner with ODOT, as everyone's aware. If they have a project, sometimes we might have work that needs to be done in that area or vice versa. So that's what we're doing here. These were actually some modifications that we've had on the books for a while. When we did our all-electronic tollway conversion on the Indian Nation Turnpike, we had this work as part of those plans, but if you recall, we had some really high bids, so we ended up rejecting a bid there early on in our AET program. We pulled some of the work out. This is some of that leftover work. ODOT's allowed us the opportunity to add it to their project, so we appreciate that. With that, staff recommends approval.
Any questions? These are much more exciting than approval of the payment register.
I kind of. You've made it. You've made it, Mr. Combs. You made it.
I would
No offense,
move for approval of item 1412 as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Please vote.
But I would comment that the payment register is still very important.
That's right, that's right.
All voting is in, and item 1412 has been approved.
Item 1413, Mr.
Yeah,
Butler.
last item here before I let Mr. Gore get up, and it may really get exciting once he gets up here. So, item 1413, this is ratification of a declaration of emergency, which this is a little bit of a unique emergency for us. Usually they're bridges, but I'll get into it here. This is submitted for consideration or approval of the authority's request to ratify the Executive Director's June 5th, 2026 declaration of an emergency and authorization for immediate action to stabilize erosion and repair and damaged metal pipe and sidewalk at the southwest corner of State Highway 64, Creek Turnpike westbound on-ramp in Yale Avenue in Tulsa. And on the back of this, we've got the memorandum that was sent out earlier. On June 3rd, 2026, City of Tulsa notified the authority of erosion behind the sidewalk at the southwest corner, again, of the State Highway 64, Creek Turnpike westbound on-ramp in Yale Avenue. Upon further inspection by the authority, maintenance personnel It was determined that the erosion had undermined the sidewalk and started migrating under the drainage inlet and outside lane of Yale Avenue, closing the sidewalk and outside lane of Yale. In coordination with the city of Tulsa, it was determined the metal pipe connected to the drainage inlet was damaged, no longer functioning properly. The area recently received large amounts of rain, and in conjunction with the damaged metal pipe caused the erosion. So immediate repairs are necessary to restore the integrity of the soil and drainage structures and to make this area safe for the traveling public and prevent any further damage. The Executive Director's declaration of emergency was in accordance with the Public Competitive Bidding Act 61-130. So again, appreciate Chief January was really the one that handled this for us and put the declaration into formation there and sent that out to the appropriate folks. We were able to get on the phone with the contractor. They went to work immediately and had everything, I believe, wrapped up in 4 or 5 days. So appreciate everyone's efforts here. With that, take any questions and recommend approval.
Any questions?
100% OTA, or did the city of Tulsa contribute?
Yeah, we're still sorting out the cost, but I believe 100% will be the OTAs, yes. As this is our ramp connection there.
Any other questions? If not, Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval of item 1413 as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thank you, Ms. Weber. Please vote. All votes are in, and item 1413 has been approved.
Next item, Mr. Chairman, is item 1415. Mr. Gore.
1414.
Morning, Chairman Jones, Mr. Combs. First item 1414 is for declare surplus property or authorize director to sell, lease, or otherwise dispose of. Parcel SP 73 in section 23, Township 12 North, Range 3 West, approximately 0.081 acres in Oklahoma County. This is a little bit unique one. We're having to replace a section of our sewer over at headquarters, and in part with that, we have an easement that we're granting to Oklahoma City so that they will maintain this section that we're replacing, and that's what this is to do, allow us to transfer that area that the new line's going in to Oklahoma City.
Any questions? If not, then I'd recommend move for approval of item 1414 as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Please vote. All votes are in, and item 1414 has been approved.
Mr. Gore, item 1415.
1415 is consider adopt a resolution of necessity for the condemnation of certain real property interest along the various corridors. Submitted for the approval authority is items to consider and adopt the attached resolution of necessity for condemnation of real properties interest on the east-west connector and the Turner Turnpike. Bring to you today is 6 parcels. 2 of those are for title, and the others are just haven't been able to sign documentation or haven't reached an agreement with the landowners.
Any questions? If there are none, Mr. Chairman, I'd move for approval of item 1415 as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thank you, Ms. Weber. Please vote. Voting is in, and item 1415 has been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gore. Mr. Gardner?
Good morning, Chairman Barry, members of the board. Presented for consideration of the authority is a request that the following change orders be approved. Of these change orders, 2 overrun existing items due to site requirements, 3 add new items to compensate the contractor for additional work, and 1 credits time to the contract for the additional work in the critical path of that project. This item has been reviewed by staff and is recommended for approval, and as always, be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? If there are none, Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval of item 1416 as presented.
We have a motion for item 1416. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Please vote. All votes are in, and item 1416 has been approved.
Thank you.
That concludes our maintenance and construction items. Our next order of business are the reports. Mr. Major Allreed, welcome back.
Thank you very much. I can still say good morning because it is morning. Okay. I'm much more comfortable now that I can see this font as opposed to the other paper I was reading earlier. For the month of May, troopers made 6,331 violator contacts, assisted 1,063 motorists, and investigated 179 motor vehicle collisions with no fatalities reported. Troopers worked 1,037 shifts and averaged 291 miles per shift for a total of 1,330 miles driven. The Turnpike system reported, again, no fatalities for the month of May. We are very grateful for that. We had 2 drug interdictions off the Will Rogers Turnpike. Special emphasis troopers worked 40 shifts on the Muskogee, Indian Nation, Creek, Cimarron, Turner, and H.E. Bailey Turnpike. Contacted 751 violators. These troopers issued 185 citations and 566 warnings for an average of 18.8 contacts per shift. The aircraft enforcement flew for a total of 4 hours. They issued 4 citations and 18 warnings for a total of 22 enforcement contacts for an average of 5.5 contacts per hour of the traffic assignment. That concludes my report. If there's any questions.
I do have a question. I was looking at the charts that you provided, and on the vehicle enforcement side, it looks like Will Rogers has a significant higher number.
Yes, sir.
I was just curious as to what's the reason behind that?
There are a couple of reasons. One, we just had we'll back up even before the last patrol school came out. We did a realignment some time back, if you may remember. It hit the news about where we were going to pull out of the metro areas. What that did resulted in fresh blood, I suppose you could say, out on the turnpike systems. Those troopers are a little younger in nature and a little more motivated than some of our senior troopers out there. Did I say that politically correct enough? In addition to that, we do have the patrol school that had let out, so we do have a few new troopers out there on the roads, and of course they are gung-ho and wanting to show their work ethic as well. And then we have a captain out there that gets out and works amongst his troopers and expects his lieutenants to do the same. When you do that, it tends to raise the stats quite a bit. So we have some good leadership out there, and I'm pretty proud of those guys.
Very good. It also tells us we need to be slowing down right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next report is the consulting engineer report. Mr. Jimmy Sparks.
All right. Good morning, Chairman Barry, members of the authority, Director E. Kelly. Concerning the trust required services, our 2026 facility inspections are still underway, and we are in the process of evaluating projects currently in the 5-year plan and looking for new projects to add. Kind of in our review of the current 5-year plan, looks like, pretty heavy on bridges on the Cimarron and Indian Nation turnpikes, pavement rehabilitation projects on the older concrete pavements like the Cimarron, Indian Nation, Muskogee, as well as asphalt on the Will Rogers Turnpike, and then a lot of shoulder guardrail projects on the Bailey, which all have significant importance to the safety of the turnpike patrons and the performance overall of the system. So, the key point is that pretty well spread out over system wide. Our projects, and we've always done a pretty good job of doing that, but with the access program and the reconstruction of the entire Turner Turnpike. And I've said this before, but we're able to look and hopefully rehabilitate some of those sections one more time before the access program comes through. But in the past, we always had 2 to 3 Turner segments on the capital plan each year. So that's allowed us to focus elsewhere and spend money on other projects. So all that to say, a bridge project that was awarded today on the Cimarron Turnpike is pretty typical of what we'll see as far as bridge rehabilitation projects in the capital plan. This project was built in 1973, which is older than I'd like to admit since it's a year younger than me. But and it had a sufficiency rating of 64, but a superstructure that was in fair condition. So a $3.3 million reinvestment brings that 50-plus-year-old bridge to basically a new condition. And, really, when we get ahead of the curve, the rehabilitation money is more effective. So it's better value for the dollars we spend versus, when it deteriorates even further. So, again, just all that to say, I think that the authority has been very effective in the consulting engineer's opinion of staying ahead of the deterioration curve with reinvestment. There were 21 special overloads checked in May for travel in the Turnpike system. And as always, our capital plan summary is in our monthly report, and happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Great report, Jimmy. Thank you. Our next report is our trustee report. Mrs. Rachel Singleton.
Good morning, Chairman Barry, members of the authority, Director Kelly. As bond trustee for the authority, we've completed the required monthly debt service transfers for the semi-annual bondholders payment in accordance with the trust agreement. The semi-annual principal and interest payments totaling $75,231,939 were made on 7/1, which is also pursuant to the trust agreement. This amount also included the first payment on the TIPIA loan for the 2020 Gilchrist Expressway. And to our knowledge, all other requirements under the trust agreement have been satisfied. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next report is the operating results and financial conditions. Ms. Wendy Smith.
Okay, Chairman Barry, members of the authority, Director E. Kelly. You have all received your operations report for the month of May provided by the Comptroller Division, and I'm happy to report that net toll revenues for May are up approximately 1% as compared to May of 2025, with total transactions staying fairly flat for that same time period. And additionally, year-to-date toll revenues continue to outpace budgeted projections by 9.5% and actually have outpaced last year's year-to-date by 2.1%. Staff continues to make monitoring the system's traffic and revenue a top priority to respond accordingly to the changes in traffic counts that could occur in response to the increased gasoline prices. They have decreased slightly over the last few months, so I'm interested to see really how summer actually comes out, June, July, and August. The OTA continues to maintain a conservative approach to spending as expenses are under the 2026 operating and maintenance budget, and we also continue to meet our trust required senior and total debt ratios. And I'll take any questions.
Any questions?
That wasn't very exciting either, but
Great
everything's
report.
going great, which is great. So
Thank you, Wendy. Our final report is our director's report. Director Joey Kelly.
All right, good morning again. Couple things I want to touch on the agenda, that were on the agenda today. If we could pull back up that slide number 3, which was on the Creek Turnpike, the damage and the emergency declaration that Darren presented on. And while they're pulling that up, there it is. So this is not included in this. I guess the bottom left photo there is the before picture. So I want to tell you how we learned about this. This is at the end of one of the turnpike ramps. This was constructed originally by OTA through maintenance agreement with the city of Tulsa. You know, we draw a line where who's going to maintain what. And I got a phone call that I didn't answer because it was a friend of mine from college. I thought he was just calling to chat and missed it. And then he sent me a text message and said, "Hey, this is work related. I need you to call me back." And I said, "Okay." So I called him back and he said, "I'm going to send you some pictures." So he texted me a few pictures and I said, "Where is that?" He said, "It's on Yale." I said, "Well, is that ours?" And he says, "Our city staff, Tulsa city staff says it is." And I said, "Great, we'll send somebody out to look at it." And the first thing that was identified was that it had eaten away the dirt under the lane. And so people were driving on a bridge that's not a bridge. You know, it's not designed to be that way. So the city had immediately moved traffic over. We quickly, within just a few hours, had our maintenance guys on scene. We switched out to our traffic control and then immediately took over getting the contract and getting somebody that could do the repairs that you see there. So all happened in the course of 3 or 4 days. I mean, really, really fast. And just shows the partnership and relationships that we have with the cities that we serve. So I just want to talk quickly about that, tell that little story about how we learned about it. And that, unfortunately, is how we learn about a lot of things. You know, somebody drives by and identifies something. Somebody that's not usually in the area looks off the road in an area that maybe you don't. You're always paying attention to the same things, and maybe somebody else notices it, calls it in, and identifies things. We use Jimmy and the Olson team to inspect our system all the time. They're out crawling around our bridges and structures, and but in conjunction with the cities. I mean, we learn about things lots of different ways. Appreciate the board awarding the first contract for the I-44 interchange. There was a graphic that was shown a minute ago on it that if we could pull that one back up, I hate doing that, wasn't planned, but if they could pull that one back up for just a second, I'd like to highlight just a couple of things that Darren talked about. And that is that in that image on our website, it looks like a ball of spaghetti. And that looks very, very confusing. When the roadway is done, this will not be much different than the Hefner Parkway and the John Kilpatrick Turnpike interchange. It'll be similar to that. Have interchanges, have ramps that go up and serve State Highway 37 and the new turnpike, and then ultimately direct flyover ramps that do a direct connect. What you see that's up here is when all the phases are complete. So this first work package is going to get this open to traffic. It is not the ultimate construction. There will be several more projects that will come in the future to build this thing completely out and totally build everything that's shown on there. On our website, on accessoklahoma.com, I would encourage anybody with questions, if you'll go there. The team has been doing a really good job of updating the plans as they've been progressing, so that as you zoom in closer, it shows a better detail of the roads and the right-of-way lines, sometimes the utility locations and those utility corridors. So just a reminder for everyone to visit accessoklahoma.com. We are updating it routinely. And we also have a virtual public involvement for the east-west connector, Toby Keith Expressway interchange with I-40 and the Kickapoo Turnpike. That'll come online between July 21st and August 21st. We'll do 1 month of virtual public meeting. This interchange is a little bit different. When we built the Kickapoo, the Turnpike Authority bought enough right-of-way in that interchange for the ultimate configuration and the ultimate ramps. So it's a little bit different there than some of the I-40 or I-44 and I-35 public involvement meetings, but we want to make sure everybody's aware of it and can get it on their calendar, and you can get more information on that also off of accessoklahoma.com. Let's talk about this cool sign that's sitting here next to me. So Americans celebrated a significant milestone this past weekend with the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and it is now marked by new highway signage strategically placed across the state. ODOT installed some 30 signs, and OTA installed signage along the Turner and Will Rogers Turnpikes, both on the Oklahoma City, Tulsa end, and at various locations where we intersect Route 66 to celebrate 100 years of Route 66 and the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So I thought that was pretty cool. Appreciate the board signing approving the Turnpike Authority, negotiating a contract with the Oklahoma Highway Patrol. Just as Eric stated, this is a real important agreement for us to get in place. The existing agreement really got down into the nuts and bolts and was extremely hard, to track, and that was one of the comments that came from the state auditor's office. What we've turned it into now is something that's much more modern, where we're able to invest in the capital related expenses around cars and supplies and the vehicles, and we provide office buildings for them to work out of, for the troopers to work out of, in conjunction with our existing maintenance yards. And now we'll be able to do it by the hour. We also use the Highway Patrol, just as many state agencies do, for building security at our building. If you've been in the front doors of both the Turnpike Authority and even today when you came in the front doors of the Department of Transportation, we use the state troopers. Similarly, when you go in and out of the Capitol, state troopers work security at those doors as well. So we really appreciate that relationship. Altogether, just as Eric stated, $25.6 million. We also through agreement, fund a troop academy when they're hiring additional staff. We pay for the troopers that ultimately get trained and assigned to the Turnpike Authority. So we really appreciate that. Last month at the June board meeting, it's been a month ago now, the Turnpike Authority Board approved OTA to get back in the bond market. The next step in that process is for the Turnpike Authority to provide an application to COBO outlining some of the expenses and underwriters and legal staff that are going to be hired through this bond issue. We supplied that 21 days in advance of which is required before the COBO meeting that was planned for June 25th. Leading up to that meeting, they were short on attendance. They were down to only having just meeting a quorum, and then I guess the day before they had a member that was not going to be able to make it. We visited about trying to set up some type of a special meeting, not necessary. So our intention though is to take that COBO application, which still sits with COBO, to them and request its approval at their normally scheduled July 30th meeting. So just wanted to provide an update on that. On the safety aspect, we're at the height of summer travel, just as Wendy talked about. We have more traffic this summer than we've ever had. I get asked sometimes, what's the most amount of traffic you get? And I will go, well, compared to the exact same day last year, it's yesterday. It's every day we have more traffic than we had the year before. There are some variances in that. Obviously, when there's severe weather, that impacts people's travel. People stay off the roads, and we encourage it. But every day we have more and more people driving on our turnpikes and the state highway system and commuting in general. We want to take a moment to provide a few reminders to help your travel be as easy and as safe as possible. First and foremost, if you're driving on any roadway, you need to wear your seatbelt. But if you're driving on a turnpike, we would encourage everyone to open and create a Pike Pass account, get you the greatest discount on your tolls in Oklahoma. It's the cheapest way for us to collect the tolls, so it doesn't end when we have to send somebody a plate pay invoice. It doesn't end with OTA receiving more funds. The cost of sending that plate pay invoice is the reason it's more expensive. So we would encourage everyone to get a Pike Pass, update and reflect any axles that may change. If you're pulling a trailer or doing something different than what your normal Pike Pass is, we would encourage you to show that on your Pike Pass account. Also remember to take that boat or RV off of your Pike Pass account when you're not pulling it. It's quick. You can log into your account online at pikepass.com. While making that update, also please check your account to see that you have the correct license plate number associated with that vehicle, that your email address and phone number are also available and on your account. We have lots of accounts that date back to pre-mobile phones being everywhere and pre-emails addresses. So it's really the fastest way for us to be able to communicate when there is an issue is to send an email or to reach out to somebody's phone. And a lot of our old accounts have old landlines still associated with them that don't exist anymore. We would also encourage anyone traveling this summer to check real-time travel information at www.oktraffic.org or on the free Drive Oklahoma mobile app. This is where, when you watch the news in the morning and you see the traffic advisories or where they're monitoring, they get a lot of that information off of this source, because we're able to report when the Turnpike or the Department of Transportation have a lane closed for maintenance work or for a highway construction activity. We're able to put it directly into this app, and it's readily available. It also shows traffic backups and congested areas when you're planning a trip. With that, Mr. Chairman, be happy to answer any questions.
It's a great report, Joe. Are there any questions or comments? Thank you. The next item on the agenda is item 1417, which will be presented by Mr. Vice Chairman Todd Cone.
Mr. Chairman, with your permission, in accordance with Title 25, Section 307B4 of the Oklahoma statutes, I move that this regular public meeting of the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority adjourn and reconvene an executive session for the purpose of confidential communications between the authority and its attorneys regarding Pikeoff v. OTA et al., United States District Court for the Western District of Oklahoma, case number 526 CV 1526D. And in conjunction with that, Mr. Chairman, I would invite, if the motion passes, Director Kelly, Trent January, Julie Porter, Paul Caesar, Wendy Smith, Jordan Perdue, Micah Gardner, Lisa Salim, Jeff Gardner, LaDon Nelson, Darren Butler, Michael Newman, Philip Whaley, Stephen Jansen, Grant Lucky, Eric Lair, Todd Gore, and Charity Anderson.
We have a motion for item 1417. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Please vote. Voting is in, and item 1417 is approved. We will recess and go to executive session. We have a motion. We have a second. Please vote. All votes are in, and item 1417 has been approved. That concludes all of the agenda items for our meeting today. Our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, August 4th, 2026 at 10 o'clock a.m. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
We
Second.
have motion and a second. Please vote. All votes are in and passed. We're adjourned.